All right, pre-calc. We're going to deal with the law of cosines, right? Because we are law of sines doesn't work for everything. So we need to have some method to get some other things done. Okay, so remember the law of sines, we do have all these situations that it definitely works with. But the big thing is you need to have a pair. Law of cosines allows you to work without getting that pair. So what does it work for? It's sine side, 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 and side angle side. And those are the two that we're going to walk you through here today. Um, I think the equation itself can look a little bit intimidating. I think I just want to highlight a few things, right? So you're thinking Pythagorean theorem basically, and if you want a squared, that means we're talking about angle A. Okay, so your BC is located in here. So B squared means you're talking about angle B, right? And then your AC is listed here. So once you see that, you're like, yeah, all right, this isn't too bad. Um, we can kind of get the gist of what's going on. All right, a couple more formalities here. If you're given side, 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 what you want to do is find the angle opposite first. Okay, not a must, but definitely makes it a little bit easier. And the other thing you want to do is if you have side angle side, we want to find the remaining side first and then the smallest angle. Okay, so it just gives a little bit of order. Basically, the law of cosines, we only want to use it once if we can do it right. And then we're going to quickly switch over and go to the law of sines because it's a little bit easier to work with. All right, so let's get our first one. We have three sides. Okay, side, side, side. And what we're going to do is, since we have the largest side I have is 19 goes with B, and that means I want to solve for that first, right? That's the recommended thing to do is go after that largest side. Now notice this triangle is not drawn to any sort of scale, so we don't want to give anything away. But what happens is now we're after B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC, right? So these are the things, the way it's kind of listed already. And we want cosine of, if it's B squared, we want cosine of angle B. And that's the thing that we're after in all of this. So I can start to plug in some numbers as I go. I get 19 squared, 8 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 8 times 14. And here's the thing I don't know, cosine of B. All right, so let's get some numbers in here so you can move things around wherever you need to. 361, we know it's 64, 196 minus, we got 224 and cosine of B. All right, so we have a bunch of things we can put together for all of this. So maybe I move my positives over. So I'm at 101, negative 224, cosine of B. So I could divide by this negative 224. So at this point, I should be equal to, hopefully if you got everything, or if I did it right, negative 0.4508. So that's my rounded decimal here. But that's going to be cosine of B. So remember this from dealing with your trig identities, inverse function. So we want cosine to the negative first of, and I'm not even going to write that in, right? So second solution, drop that in. All right, so what we should have is 116.8 degrees for B. After that, now we have a pair. So we're going to start using the law of sines. Okay, so you know what, let's just call this 117. And we'll work from there for the law of sines. All right, so I'm going to make the assumption that you're good on law of sines. Keep this video nice and short today. But you do want to go back and figure out your other angles, angle C and angle A. Remember, once you get one more of those, all triangles are 180 degrees, so we'll just subtract from there. All right, so the next thing we have is I have side, angle, side. All right, so I don't have any diagonal pairs. I don't have anything to match up there. So what are we going to do? Well, I want to find out what A is. So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC. And what's that give me? That gives me cosine of A, right? Because I want the beginning and the end to match up with those. Now let's fill in everything that we know. Now luckily I know everything except for a squared. So this is going to be a lot of calculator work. So b squared is 15 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 15 times 10. And we're talking about the cosine of 115 degrees. All right, so again, we got to make sure we're in degrees. Let's fill some things in here. I get 225, I get 100. We got minus 300 times negative 0.423. Okay, so I got negative negative here, so this is going to turn into plus like 126 and a decimal. All right, so we should be somewhere around 451.785, and we're going to take the square root of it because that's what a squared is. And that should give me an a value. Notice that is going to be one of the longest, right? Because 115 degrees, this one's drawn a little bit more to scale. So that side turns out to be 21.3, 21.26. I'm going to make it 21.3. All right. Now that I have a pair, we're going to go to law of sines. Okay. And again, for the sake of keeping this video nice and short for you today, we do want you to finish up the rest of those working out law of sines now that you have an answer. So you could work that out, maybe start with B next, working law of sines with A now that we have those matching pairs. All right, so that's the law of cosines. Essentially, if you can't use the law of sines, that means we're going to start law of cosines. And the big key here is only use it once. Be intentional about what you solve for. That way we can move right over to the law of sines because it goes a little bit faster. All right, peace.